This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Morning and jumbo everyone and everybody. Welcome to our Sunrise Drive. We are in the Mara Triangle in Kenya, and such a beautiful eastern horizon. All the colors when I wake up in the morning and see, and I will always say they have made my day. You can see some buffaloes there in the foreground. I hope they are also trying to enjoy the sunrise. Very good camera work there. And these big animals being ruminants, you notice some of them are chewing cud and just taking it easy, waiting for the sun to keep pushing up. And what a morning we got here. A huge herd of buffaloes. I would guess both males and females together. And Emma in the final control, it could not be better than this. For me just to have buffaloes in the foreground and the beautiful sky lighting up slowly and surely, which I guess will bring us a wonderful day, full of game today. Pretty good temperatures, 17 degrees Celsius, 63 degrees Fahrenheit. And as usual, my name is David. That has not changed. And with me this morning is Bungay. Bungay, bonjour. Yeah, bonjour. Yeah, Bungay is a new come-up who joined us the other day, and he looks as a gentleman who will be going places. Remember, this is a very interactive safari we're doing, and your questions are very welcome. Any nice comment you may have, please send through using hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Well, what a wonderful start, not only for myself, but for my other brother by the name of Steve Oval.
Good morning, everybody, and again, welcome to the Mara Triangle in Kenya. We have found the youngsters of the Olololo Pride. They have come from who knows where, and it's calling. They've come from who knows where, and they've come to investigate the buffalo carcass of yesterday. And, well, I can count 8 of them. I haven't found the adults yet, or the 2 big males, but I can't really see the buffalo kill over there. But good morning, my name is Steve, and I'm joined on camera by Big James. It is a beautiful 17 degrees Celsius, 64 degrees Fahrenheit, and we're out in the Mara, and we thought we'd go and check that bat-eared fox den first thing in the morning. Let's go back here, she's calling. This little youngster's looking for Mum. Where's Mum? Now she's obviously, oh, there she goes, just a little soft contact call. Where is Mum, she's saying. Remember, 3 lioness with the 2 males on this buffalo carcass, not far from where we are right now. I haven't seen one of the other adults that was with these youngsters we saw, 3 days back. Okay, I do see at least 2. There are 2 lions towards the carcass over there. I don't know if you can quite see it, James, but I just get it with my binoculars from my height. I don't think there's much left on the carcass. I'm sure David has informed you on how to get hold of us. For your questions down on YouTube, the chat stream, remember the @FC or at hashtag SafariLive. Well, it seems like not only do we have big cats up here in the Mara, Sydney is out on drive and he's found one himself.
So you can see that a very big cat is drinking at the moment. You can see there by the water. Here comes one of the biggest cats. This is one of the males. I don't know from which pride or coalition this male belongs to. A very, very good morning and welcome to the beginning of the morning safari. My name is Sydney from Niconico, and I am traveling with Sebastian, who is my camera operator. You can talk to us on Twitter, #SafariLive. You can also follow us on YouTube chat stream. My plan is to look for the spotted cat. Accidentally, I came across this huge animal. So I've got a suggestion from Louise, who is just by the final control here in Juma at the moment. She is suggesting that this might be coming from the Talamati Pride. So, but I can see that this lion was every time calling, but it's not giving a loud roar. He was giving a very soft roar, checking around. So it looks like he's not alone here in the area. He might lead us to the other ones. Maybe they've gone past here already, or they might be slowly coming towards this side. Ladybug, yeah, it looks like it's got a full belly. I can see that, but now that he's drinking, it's going to look worse. It's going to look very big. If you look at the mane, you can see the mane is not that very big. So the lions, they start to grow the mane when they're just about 2 years. You can see he's calling. Oh, maybe you missed that. He's calling and looking at that side. And I've just seen the impalas from that side of the dam running away just now. Maybe we might see some of the coalition or the pride members coming to this area now. So the most important function of the mane is to protect the neck. The territorial lions, they are very much protective in their territories. And I thought you... So you can hear that he is not alone. He is definitely looking for some of the members. Maybe it's the pride or a coalition. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to follow him and see where he's taking us to. There were some buffaloes here yesterday afternoon. Maybe it's the one who might have attracted this big cat. He's right at the back of my car now. I cannot even see him. So that is why you can see. So you can hear him roaring. Maybe one of them is going to answer. Now I'm going to wait and see who's going to come. Let's cross over to the Masai Mara and see what Steve is having this morning.
This is one unhappy lioness over here. She is growling. She's got quite a few injuries on her backside and around her tail and her back leg. That is the characteristic place that lions bite each other. And hyena as well will bite them there if they get into some form of fight. Well, the lions are popping up absolutely everywhere. I think I've got a tally of 14 at the moment. There's another one just over here. Majority of the youngsters that we saw have moved off down this road. So we were coming along to try and see if we could see where they were going. Here's another adult. So we've got 2 adults on the scene now. She's in really good condition. She's looking at her sister and going, "Oh, shame, what happened to you?" Got some bad bite marks on the bottom, but I've seen much worse on lions, and they always seem to come right. They've got a very, very good healing ability. And I'll lick those wounds, and the saliva has got quite a nice sort of antiseptic sort of quality to it, believe it or not. If you got lion saliva in your wound, it would probably get infected. Minamu, would a lioness leave her cubs if she was injured? I've seen a lioness with cubs who's got a broken shoulder, and she kept coming back. If anything, she didn't go very far. She was very lucky in the fact that her sister was nearby and was catching food by the dozen. So she's able to keep up with the food demand. But you know, things happen in the wild. Lions do things sometimes that we find very hard to explain. But the mother's love generally outweighs most things, and she generally stays with the cubs if need be. I've never known of a lioness to abandon her cubs. If anything, she might be away for a bit too long and they get caught or killed by something. That does happen a lot more often than we think. Cubs are there one day and the next day they're gone. But I'm not too sure how often lionesses will actually abandon their cubs. It's not something really well documented, to be honest. Well, if this is one of the lioness that was with the buffalo yesterday, she is looking like she's digested it quite nicely. Well, we're a bit spoilt for choice with lions. We're trying to figure out exactly which ones to try and follow. But while we do that, seems like David Gitu has found the large ones with the big ears.
Well done, Steve Ovo. Having seen lions, I started with the buffaloes, and now I got another of the big five. It's like these days we are very lucky when we start our drives. We are seeing like big fives, like the first 1 hour in the morning. Now we got elephants here, and that should be a mother and her youngster. And you can see she's a bit streamy on her temporal gland. If you look carefully behind the eye, you can see that one wet part. Well done, Bungay, for bringing it much closer to the screen. The buffaloes we saw earlier were just resting and chewing cud. But one of the major differences between buffaloes and ellis, it's very difficult to see ellis doing the same. Either sitting down and trying to chew because they are non-ruminants, but also they happen to always be on the move. Unless in the heat of the day you'd get an elephant, resting or staying under the shade. Elephants are always on the move and doing something. Nice back shot there. Walking towards the Ololo escarpment, which is in the background there. And like all animals here in the bush, once in a while they'll swing or flick their tails, and they'll always do that for different reasons. Very good job, Bungay. Karen, thank you very much. It's truly amazing. And you got two of them there running down towards the big ellie, which to me I think might be the matriarch. It's not always the largest or the biggest in size ellie that is the matriarch. It's always in general the oldest, which has lots of experience, have seen it all, has done it all, and it has the right tools to lead the group. So sometimes you see ellies that are very big, but maybe a smaller one in size will be in charge of the whole herd. And again, remember, this is a very interactive safari. Your questions give us lots of joy. Any nice comment, send them through using hashtag SafariLive. So the ellies here will either pick grass or plants. Niconico viewer, good question. Is that a female elephant? Yes. And in general, we look on the shapes of their forehead, and that will always give us an idea from a distance whether they are males or females. And the females have more or less a flat head, while males have rounded head. But sometimes it's difficult to tell from a distance. But the most obvious difference, 100% one, is just looking between their forelegs. And for females, definitely you'll be able to see the mammary glands, and not on the males. Looking between their hind legs, it's very confusing, and it's very difficult to tell a male from a female by looking between the hind legs. You rarely see their genitalia when you look between their hind legs, unless, of course, a male would be like that one. They're very good. If you can hold on there between the front legs, you see Niconico viewer there. You can see the mammary glands, and they look a bit swollen. Not sure she's pregnant or she is nursing. But now looking at the back, she's giving us a back shot there. You cannot tell whether it's a she or a he. This also brings me or reminds me of the hyenas, where it's very difficult to tell males from females. Unless you see the mammary glands of the females, hyenas give us the biggest challenge, Niconico viewer, to tell males from females. Alrighty, they'll keep eating, and it's pretty nice to have this small baby in the back group there, which is just tugging along the mother, not staying very far, and we'll allow these elephants to, yeah, that's the baby I'm talking about. You can see she doesn't have tusks yet, and the mother just keeping her very close. And if you look carefully, she is nursing now, and you notice they always try and nurse while she just stopped between the front legs of her mother. Let's go back now to Stivovo and find out what kind of carnivores he got.
Well, this is the scenes unfolding in the African dawn. One young lioness still interested in visiting the buffalo carcass. There's at least 4 jackal in the area. The lion was chasing the jackal just a moment ago. That competition between the predators. But their carcass is all but finished. If we go back over to it, you'll see how the vultures have descended upon it. And, well, apart from a whole lot of birds there, you wouldn't really even know that there was once upon a time an enormous buffalo there. A number of species of vulture. We've got the Rupel's vulture, or some whiteback vultures as well. And there, just in the bottom right of the screen, is a hooded vulture. Picking up on the scraps that is left. You see the one that's standing quite tall. It's on probably the rib cage or the hip of the vulture itself, of the buffalo itself. So there's not much going for these individuals. But a buffalo kill by lions provides enormous amounts of food and activity in an area. The jackal have been here for days. There were some hyena not so long ago moving off the scene. And well, this young lion is starting to move closer towards us on the right. It's busy calling for mum. Beautiful scenes. All of this happening just before the sun rising. Well, the light is gorgeous up here in the Mara, but I believe it is equally as gorgeous down in Djuma.
So you can see now the king of the jungle is coming just behind the termite mound with a very beautiful sunrise behind him. So this lion is not that very old, he's still very young. Maybe he's just now about between 2 to 4 years. You can see the mane is just starting to grow now. So lions, they do pass through vulnerable stages. Lions, a lot of mortalities to the little ones are very high because normally they are left by the den unattended. And apart from that, this kind of animals, during teething, the teething is associated with a severe pain which kills the cubs. So most of the cubs, they died naturally because of teething. So they've got one of the very, very bad teething process, which can be painful to the little ones until they die. So you can see that this cat is definitely looking for the other members. He is calling them and checking. He's looking very much stressed at the moment. You can see that he's calling. He's calling looking backwards, he's looking sideways, and he's also looking forward. But maybe from his sense of smell, he knows where they are, because why is he coming this direction? He's looking confused and he's checking too much the direction where I've seen a buffalo head yesterday around afternoon. You can see he's waving even the tip of the tail there. Maybe that is kind of a follow me sign, for in case if they are seeing him, he's saying, I'm here. Keith, welcome to the Safari Live as our new viewer. Here, the lions, they use the tip of their tails together with the tip of the ears for coordination purposes during their hunting activities. But apart from that, also as a follow me sign to their little ones and also big ones to follow each other. In other words, the tips of the ears together with the black tip of the tail, they can be used as part of the non-verbal communication. So let me follow the king of the jungle. You know, here in the bush, we have got too many kings. It's just that some are not well recognized. So now, while I'm still going to our little king of the jungle, let's cross over to the Masai Mara, where Steve is having the other lions.
Lion sort of morning, ladies and gentlemen, and well, this youngster is trying to find the rest of the pride. Its sister is going to hide behind a bush over here and stalk and ambush as it gets closer. Let's see if we can listen and hear the little call of the lion. It's spotted its sister. It knows that there's something afoot. They just can't help themselves, lions. They're always catching each other. And the ambush has been moved. There we go. Can't help themselves. There they go. Chase me down and across the road, and they're on the perfect track to follow a couple of the adults that I've just spotted. They've crossed the road up ahead where those lions are moving now. I'm trying to still get a view of where that injured lioness might be. They are indeed quite spotty. These are only youngsters, two probably of the youngest of the litter, born in July of last year, so just over a year old, still young. Marvelous to see the Olololo pride again, all of them together, the males, the two big males. Not sure where they've gone, probably for a long walk to work off that belly that they had developed yesterday. But who knows what happened to that lioness. That lioness, she potentially might have had a bit of an altercation with those males, and they gave her a bit of a disciplinary sort of hearing. They're getting very excited. They know where Mum is now. Okay, we're going to move up. Let's go see if we can keep up with them. Oh, it's nice to watch them running through the open there. Lions, lions everywhere. Okay, James, we're going to move forward. Okay, so they're heading into the marsh. That's where we were planning on heading. Initially, we were going to go straight through to the Bat's fox den. But, I mean, you know, then lions just came along and just ruined everything for us. But that's what happens. You never know what you're going to see out here. Every day is different. Every day heralds new surprises. And we were just here a moment before, and a number of the adults or youngsters had moved straight down this road. So while we try and keep up with our lions and see exactly where they're headed to, I believe Sydney's managed to catch up with his cats, and they finally stopped moving.
So you can see now the young male is on top of the termite mound, and we are enjoying hearing him roaring. He's still very young. He can't make a very, very loud voice. So that kind of a roar is coming from the design in the larynx there. They have got a special square lungs, which helps in order for them to release air passing so that the lungs does not work hard for them to produce this strong voice or strong call through their vocal folds. So this lion is right on top of a termite mound. Lions are regarded as king of the jungles, but in the termite mound there's another king. It's just that the king of the termite mound is not that well recognized. See, owls, I didn't copy your question very nicely. So the males, mostly, if you can check, young males, when they reach a level of maturity, they start to reach maturity when they're about 2 years. But for breeding purposes and for fighting for dominance, that you will see between 3 to 4 years. So when they get to 2 years is when the testosterone, which is responsible in order to grow this kind of mane, is ready for them to grow the mane. So when they are younger than this, testosterone is not yet ready to give them a lot of hormones in order to grow that. So that is why some of them, you will find them having mane when they are less than 2 years. More than that is when you'll see them getting equipped with manes, because these manes help them during the territorial challenges. So the mane helps to also exaggerate the body size. Some of the intruders, the rivals, when they see them looking big, they get threatened, and instead of coming, they avoid their territories. So I was just saying, right on top of the termite mound where he is now, at the bottom of that termite mound, we have got another king there. So in the bush, we have got too many kings. It's just that the lions are recognized than the other kings. Each colony of the termite has got its own king. And I'm talking about the king who's even got soldiers. This one is just the king who doesn't even have soldiers to give instructions to go and fight intruders. So the wild is associated with quite a lot of king. Bees have got their own kings as well, different colonies, and you also have the ants have got different kings as well. So there's too many kings. If we were to have a meeting of all kings here, you are going to see all these insects as well represented. Tanya, that is correct. The roar, they do get deeper as they grow older, because that is going together with the experience they have been doing for quite a long time, and that makes it much more thick. So you can hear now that he is not that very well experienced. He's trying. So it sounds like a contact call. So that mane there is the one which protects the neck, because these animals have got very, very strong canines which can go up to 10 millimeters, so can be able to easily penetrate the neck. So the thickness. Apollo, no, that is true. He looks lonely at the moment because he's always associated with a pride. If this is the male from the Talamati, I have seen him last together with the Unkuhumas. So the fightings amongst the males, they can be very vicious. So if they don't have a very thick manes, it's very easy for them to get badly injured. So look at those whiskers there on top of the eyes. So the whiskers for the lions work the same as the whiskers for the leopards. They help these animals for orientation. When these animals are walking at night, they don't only depend on their eyesight and their hearing. For them to sense what is happening in the surrounding, they use the whiskers. These whiskers are connected with the nervous coordination or the nervous system and the brain and the sensitivity of this animal. They've got what is called proprioceptors at the tip of each whisker. And these proprioceptors is the one that send information straight to the brain. So these animals, if you cut off the whiskers, they are going to get disorientated. So now let's cross over to David, who's got one of those animals recommended for hunting by the lions.
Well, seeing a leopard, leopards have been known sometimes to bring down prey that are twice their body weight, and zebra is no exception. Most leopards say the fully grown males like Tingana could, weigh about 70 kilos, 150 pounds, but they might bring down a zebra that could be way over 300 or 400 pounds. We got some zebras here. We are talking of the common zebra or the Barchels, and this is a very big contrast from what we had a few weeks ago. This whole area, if you look as Bungay would pan out, was filled with loads of wildebeest and zebras during the migration, but most of them, I would say 95% of them, have left and they have headed due south to Serengeti National Park. Serengeti National Park is a game area south of Kenya in a country called Tanzania, but we'll always have a few strugglers or a few that don't make in that journey. It's always a long journey, is full of challenges on the way, lots of predators on the way. Sometimes they face a drought, they have to cross the Mara River, sometimes, they get diseases, so a few stay back. And these are some of them that did not tag along with the main group of the migrants from the Mara Triangle to Serengeti. All this area was dotted with animals, and you can see in the background the iconic torchwood trees, like that one there. Sometimes we call them the Egyptiaca balanites. And I'm not sure whether I will call these zebras my cousins, because I got boots. Let me try and put my best foot forward, and Bungay might come to me. And yes, what do you think of that? If you look at my boots, I'll only show one now, and I'm going to show the other one later. And this is part of the zebra pattern, and in the final control says that's very stylish. Now, the only question maybe I may not want to hear is whether this boot here, is it a male or a female? And if I get that question, I'll say it is a male, because I am a boy. Bungay, what do you think? We got two types of zebras in Kenya. We got this one here, and we also got another species that is called the gravy zebra further north. And I think my boots are more of this zebra here, which is the common zebra. Carrie, these animals travel long distances. They do anything from 2,000 to 3,000 mile round trip. 2,000 to 3,000 miles round trip. And the movement or the migration, Kali, is always continuous. They don't start anywhere. They don't stop anywhere. They only have a very short break in the month of February, and that will be in the eastern Serengeti National Park and the western Ngorongoro Conservation Area, when they bring down the babies. And that's a period of about a week or two, and they bring down about, I would say, 500,000 babies to 600,000 babies in 2 weeks. Otherwise, in general, is always a clockwise movement all round the year. JJ, is it good morning for you? I am not sure what to tell you. If I take my second cup of coffee because I had my first one early in the morning, I'll tell you exactly what they are. And I think you have caught me and you're giving me a dose of my own medicine, because every time I'll ask the viewers, are zebras black with white stripes or are they white with black stripes? Thank you very much, JJ, for your question. And I think, as I have just promised, on my second cup of coffee, I will tell you exactly what my boots are. But in the meantime, I have to look at them carefully, and me and Bungei will agree what they are. Bungei, what do you think? Black or white? Or white and black? Bungei is equally confused like me, and I think it's time to move on. My plans today mainly is to go and look for the sausages. I'm always in love with that pride of lions, and I have maybe another half an hour to get to the territory. I'm going to look at my sausages, the lions. Let's go back to Steve and find out if his lions are up to anything.
It is a lion kind of morning, and well, we've caught up with the front runners of the pride. Here are two of the young males, and I think it's a female behind them there, and they're beautiful, beautiful youngsters, looking like the one adult has provided with them some food in the last couple of days, because they're not looking malnourished at all. They're looking like a typical pride would do during the migration period. But the pride itself is spread out from the main road where we found them initially, probably a few hundred to 400 meters or so, all the way down in towards the marsh. And we're with 3 over here, and there's probably another 4 or so just off to our right-hand side. But this young lion is very interested in Big James, isn't he? He's looking at you, James. How does that make you feel? Makes you feel good. Makes him feel powerful. There's a very brave yellow-throated longclaw at the back there, just above the lion's head. James, above the lion's head. Above, yep, above. There's a bird moving in the long grass. It's gone now. The very brave longclaw is right behind those lions. Oh, I don't know if I'd be hanging too close to a lion if I was a bird. I suppose they know they're a little bit quicker, and they're able to fly away if need be. But I think that might be it for the lion action for this morning from this side, because the adults have all gone flat, and now we're going to move forward and see if we can move through and find that group of bat-eared foxes, because that is definitely the highlight of the week for us at the moment. Very good. Let's leave these youngsters to their meanderings, and we're going to head on down not far away. The marsh, well, she always provides. Hello lions, you do your thing. There's another couple just over here, another one just over here. 1, 2, 3 there. Not the best light. There's 4 there. So the whole pride is seemingly on the move in towards the marsh. Oh, they're working. The lion spots really are pretty much the same. They're the same species. Lion cubs are born with spots, and as they get older, those spots start to fade. It's pretty much standard across the lion species. I've never seen youngsters more spotted than others, or less spotted. If anything, it might just be a little bit of a color variation. Some might be a little bit browner, some a little bit paler, and that's just genetics, really. When you move through to the white lions, and then through to the really much darker sort of lion, it's just really a color variation. But the spots still there, but as they get older, they kind of get washed a bit and seemingly disappear. But You still see it on the adults, but it's just not that clear. Been through the laundry a number of times. Okay, well, on we go. Who knows what else we might be able to bump into in the marsh this morning. QT, definitely this area does get quite busy because it's quite close to the Olololo gate, and a lot of the lodges, a lot of the people come in from that side. It is quite helpful sometimes because from a distance you can see a car parked and you go, oh, okay, and you go and you check that way and then you find some animals. But this time of year the migration has steadily sort of decreased. When I was here a month ago with James in the marsh area, it was quite tricky actually being in here because it was busy. It was very busy. But I mean, the last couple of days we've been in quite spread out because there's so many animals around. The people view them for a short period of time and then they move off. For example, that buffalo carcass the day before was very busy, but by the time we got down the mountain everybody had moved off. So it's kind of one of those things. People are out for photographs and for action, and the thing about the marsh is there's no off-road driving. So we're benefited in the fact that we've got a camera that we can view quite far away, which is really, really to our advantage. So a lot of the people tend to go along the river a little bit further down as well to try and get some shots. Here we're able to spot things from far away, which means that if someone's viewing them over here, we can view it from a bit further and stay away from that congestedness. But it's not that busy right now. I think a lot of the people, well, this is not the prime time for the migration or for people to visit. So I think July, August, very, very busy time in the Mara. We're kind of at the, you kind of say at the end of the season, as it were. Okay, well, we've left our lions, but it seems down in South Africa, Sydney's lion has given him the slip.
So I can hear the lion still making some roar at the moment, but it's difficult to see him. I'm just waiting here for him to come out again. So he is not far. He's making some calls somewhere here. And I am not alone at the sighting. There is another vehicle also enjoying this sighting. So I'm waiting for him to come towards this direction where I am, but it looks like he is lying down somewhere in between these bushes. So I've got to now drive in and see if we can have a better sighting. Oh, I can see now he is lying down somewhere here. Now it's time for him to groom himself. I can see now he's trying to groom himself. Just that from here where I am, we can't look at that now. So you can see that now he is trying to groom the... Connie, the roar of the lion can travel a very long distance. It can travel up to 10 to 12 kilometers. That is a very long distance. So they can be heard very far. But to the other animals, it can be even heard more than that because animals have got very good hearing ability. So, but we cannot hear it as well from far. So the other ones are not answering still. So when he's grooming himself, sometimes he does eat some of these hairs. And those are the hairs which normally forms the hair balls to these animals. Some they cough them. Now he's carrying on. I'm going to have to position again and see if we can improve the sighting. So let's reposition now and see if we can have a good sighting from where he's going at the moment. Zach, the lions, they don't get threatened by our vehicles. So these animals, they will only get threatened if you are doing some game capturing, or if not game capturing, if there is some hunting. Animals, when they see the game capturing vehicles, they can recognize them and they feel unsettled. Animals learn very quickly. But if it's a game drive car like this, which does not give them any problems, I can promise you, these animals, they won't have any problem. This is incredible. Look at this lion crossing right here next to me without any worries, calling the other members of the coalition or the pride. You can see that the relationship between the vehicle and these animals is very good at the moment. So the animals have got good memories. It's like if an aircraft is passing, you will see the animals such as buffaloes on the ground and the elephants, they don't feel comfortable because the memories of game capturing and translocation, it starts to come back and you will see them dispersed now, running away. So I am going to keep following and see if he's not going to lead us to the rest of the group, which is what I want to see at the moment. So he's a young male, but he's got a very big paw on the ground. So now let's go to the Masai Mara, where David is busy at the moment looking for the sausage tree pride.
Well, we have come to a new area. I was thinking to get the lions by now. I haven't been lucky, but I've come to an area full of wildebeest, and I would say maybe thousands of them. Sorry about that little noise in the background. It's just a car behind us. Look at that. We thought the migration is over, but I think things might have changed because we had some rains here 2 weeks ago and all the wildebeest seems to have turned back. I was saying earlier that most of them have gone to Serengeti National Park in Tanzania, but this, I would not call them stragglers. This is a big herd by any standard to call them stragglers. If you look carefully, this area had some fires, was burnt, and we get sometimes, game rangers just, creating some fire to kill any bugs and to burn the old grass. And what you see the wildebeest eating there is fresh shoot of grass that came up. This makes the Mara Triangle a very famous place because it's only here that you'll see the migration. Christian, I would say the vultures will always remain here, and once the migration go, we have the predators remaining, and the predators will bring other animals down, and that is the time we call a green season. And once the migration goes of the wildebeest and the zebras, we have the bigger prey. I'm talking about either giraffes or buffaloes or elands that stay back. So the vultures are always guaranteed of food, but either way they'll have to scavenge on anything that will have been left behind by the predators. So the vultures will always remain and not tag along with these animals. Look at the beards or all that fur under the neck of that boy moving there. anything short, fresh, is what they keep picking up. We have always had estimates of about 1.2 million of these wildebeest when they are moving, and about anything 600 to 800,000 zebras moving together with them. Such a spectacle to see them moving in their big, huge herds, and they only move for one reason: food, and not any other thing. So once they deplete all the food here is when they start heading due south again. And this is like a bumper harvest now for the predators and most of the lions in the Mara Triangle. So many prides of lions here. And my favorite one that I'm going to look for today are the sausages. They got young cubs, and I think, having said that, we just need to move on, because this is a pretty good time for them to have come out now. King Swan, what is the lion word for a lion roar? I might have to stop for me to say it nicely and for you to hear it. We say guruma. G-U-R-U-M-A, guruma. That's a lion roar. I hope that adds to make it much clearer. The Swahili word is guruma. Alrighty. We got some impalas in the midst of this migration. They should not be here, but because they have the right food, you turn them mixing together. And apart from the impalas, we also got the Thompson gazelles. So let's find out, Bungay, if we can have a bit of those impalas there and the Thompson gazelles. We have 3 different species or 4 different species of animals together that have been brought in one same area because of food. That's a herd of impalas, and the one having a toilet break there is a Thompson gazelle. Top on the list for the cheetahs on their menu. You see the black stripe there. It reminds me of the springboks in South Africa. This would be our equivalent of the springboks. And look at how they flick their tails much faster or quicker than the impalas. Pretty small, and both sexes here, I'm talking about the Thompson gazelle, have horns, males and females. But for the other bigger brown antelopes there, the impalas, the males will only be, or the horns will only be on the males and not the females. And one other big or unique difference between impalas and Thompson gazelles, you'll have one male with so many females on the impalas. Christian, short trains, when do we expect them to start? I would say for me, they are late. They should have started by now. They normally start end October, early November, but they have not. I would say they are very late. But this year, during our long range, we had massive long range, and they stayed or they extended much longer. I do not know. That is what might have caused that delay. But I would have expected them to be here going towards Christmas. We have all signs every day in the afternoon of clouds building up, but they haven't come as yet. And maybe the short rains we had earlier, because end of September we had some good rains, we are all thinking that's what might have held these zebras and the wildebeest around. And what beautiful plains to see 3-4 different species of animals being brought together by one commonality, food, and everybody minding his or her own business, all in peace and harmony. Thompson gazelles, impalas, zebras, the wildebeest, and of course some lapwings on the ground. We had some one here. There's a keep coming that way. This is black-crowned lapwing. Yeah, somewhere there. Very good. That one is a lapwing. Very good. They always nest on the ground. Well done, Bungay. And they lay their nests on the ground also. Chicks also on the ground. And jackals, like what Steve had, will always come and steal their eggs and their chicks. And they become very vocal when they see the jackals, and they tend to run away, confusing them, so that they mislead them and they go in a different direction. And those zebras scratching their head. Yes, we have always had people saying, scratch my back, I scratch your back. Brent, I agree with you. Very beautiful. Well done. And good to hear your name, Brent. Look at those zebras again. That's a very typical pose for zebras. Oh, very late. Not sure when they scratch. Their back is like a big bite. You can see it's just like pulling the skin of that other one there. Very closely related to the horses, the zebras. And talking of the two types of zebras we got in Kenya, these to me are similar to the donkeys, and the other type that we call the gravy zebra are similar to the horses. Look at that. It's very synchronized, eh? And you can see the Thompson gazelle under there. Nana, this is one area we'll see secretary bird, and haven't seen any, and I would request you to stay tuned. I might surprise you. Yesterday I think we had a James who wanted to see a grey heron with Steve, and luckily I found one, and also Steve found another one. So Nana, don't go away, stay tuned. We might be lucky to spot a secretary bird at one point. Bungay, if you see one before me, please let me know. All right, zebras keep enjoying, and the wildebeest and the Thompson gazelles, impalas, the crowned lapwing there, and let's keep to a mission of the lions. Great light now coming through. I think Steve is in love with the foxes from yesterday. Tell us what they're doing now, Steve.
Well, we have managed to get back to the jackal and bat-eared fox den, and the jackal are up and about, moving, doing their thing. A couple of the adults have just returned and just did a little bit of regurgitation for the youngsters. I was doing a little bit of digging. Little youngster on the right. There was at least 5 jackal a moment ago, and they were really, really close to the bat-eared fox den. Look at it. But there's one bat-eared fox visible. I think we're just too late in the morning to have them doing anything of interest. My initial plan was to come straight here, but as it were, we had a lion traffic jam, and here we've got one adult lying flat on the top. It's been a very long and busy night for the poor bat-eared foxes that have been out probably feeding. And it is now sleepy time. Well, that is the way it works. At least we know, because yesterday when we came here, they were not very active in the morning. Found them towards the end of drive, and then last night, towards the end, they started getting very active. So my idea to come here first thing was to try and get some activity, but as I said, we had a traffic jam. But we know exactly where it is. We'll be able to visit this area regularly. And James is quite excited. He's calling it the... What did you call it yesterday, James? He's naming it after us. He's calling it our den. But it's nice to spend some time here. Obviously, seeing a flat fox like that is not ideal. just off to the left of it, so where the long grass is, there's a burrow there that goes down. Those of you who have not been with us for the last 2 days, we've got a bat-eared fox den site here with 3 adults, seemingly one being a helper from last year, and then there are 2 very small little juveniles. And they all came out for us twice yesterday, which was very, very cool. Samsung, indeed, the new celebrities on the SafariLive show. They will be featured this week, I do believe. But very, very nice that we've been able to find them. That's definitely the highlight for me, I think, of the year. Well, of the highlight for me up in the Mara. I mean, spending time with lions is awesome. Spending time with the hyena is awesome as well. But to have an active den site for bat-eared foxes right here next to the road. Well, James, wouldn't you mind going back to those jackal there? Because they're having a lot more fun than the bat-eared foxes at the moment. They are playing and enjoying themselves in typical dog-like fashion, running after each other, chasing each other's tails. There's certainly some helpers with the jackal as well, because most of them are quite large, in fact. On the approach back to the den, you can tell the youngsters, they come running very low to the ground in typical dog-like fashion, very low posturing, head held low and tail wagging from side to side in a begging sort of fashion. And that stimulates the adults to regurgitate whatever it is that they might have in their bellies. They've been out for hours feeding, picking up on scraps, catching rodents. Oh, look at me, I've got a stick. Definitely a dog, isn't it? A jackal. It's got quite a round belly. Eaten quite nicely. Oh, it's left its stick behind. Typical jackal trot. It's the black-back jackal. Showing a little bit of interest in a warthog that's not too far away. I don't think there's any chance of them catching the warthog, but nonetheless they're interested in the movement of something that's close to their den. When you are, here comes one from the right, is going to come into shot. There he comes. They're all going as a unit. You know how dogs build up courage when they're in a unit on their own? They're sometimes a bit nervous. But when they come together, well, look at them. Now they're walking directly towards the warthog. Let's see what they're going to do. This is very interesting. What are you going to do there, warthog? It's a big warthog. It's just off to the left of the screen. It should be coming into picture shortly. Here comes a 4th jackal. From the back, it'll be joining it in a moment. Here comes the 4th one to bolster the ranks. This is fantastic. What are you going to do? The warthog has no idea it's being stalked by 4 jackal. Typical dog-like fashion. Oh, I'll go for it. No, you go for it. No, you bite it. No, you. No one wants to be first. That is a big warthog. Well, much bigger than they are, indeed. But anything that comes near and around den sites, obviously, it's something worth investigating. They can quickly and easily get back to their den if need be. Michael, I don't think they will play together. No, they are competitive. The bat-eared fox pups as well as the jackal pups. The adults wouldn't tolerate each other being too close to each other, but maybe while the adults are out, seeing as the jackal den is so nearby, maybe the bat-eared fox pups will cross or transcend that boundary and come out and play with the jackal while no one's watching. Hopefully we'll be here to film that. I don't think anything like that's been recorded before in the wild. Once they are adults, there's a lot of competition between them, albeit the bat-eared fox is mainly an insect eater. They do still eat rodents and small reptiles, which would be in the jackal's sort of area. So unfortunately, in the animal kingdom, competition, even between species or within the species, regardless, is very, very fierce. Jackal don't tolerate other jackal, and they don't tolerate other canids, other carnivores. Cool Breeze, that's a really good question. I don't think there's really too much in the way of differences there. Something I'm really going to have to investigate. I mean, I think they are very closely related. We don't have too many foxes, like I say, in southern Africa, but then there's not too many jackals as well. So I think the difference is maybe just in the name. I'm going to have to do some reading though to find out exactly what the difference between a jackal and a fox is, but from a family sort of situation, they're in the same family, but they're just a different genus. There's different sort of identification features. Foxes and jackals, to me though, the European fox looks very similar to that of a jackal, but they've just sort of transcended different types of sort of, I don't know really, foxes, jackals and dogs, all in the canid family. Very, very similar, really. Fox-like or wolf-like appearance, ranging in size. The size between wolves and foxes obviously is quite different, but they are all very, very similar. It's just different genus names. Jackals fall under the Canis family, and the bat-eared fox, or the genus, and the Otycion, and the bat-eared fox, but they all fall under the Canidae family. Very similar in many traits, but just like the hyena and the aardwolf is actually related to the hyena, but they've filled out a different niche within the landscape. They still live in burrows just like hyena. They breed quite similarly. They behave in many, many similar ways, just they don't have the same matriarchal society, but they feed on insects, whereas the hyenas are scavengers and very, very efficient hunters. It's all about just a different species fulfilling different roles within the landscape. Essentially, two species that are too similarly in traits and behavior, the stronger of the two will always outcompete the other one. So it's what leads to the sort of plethora or hierarchy of animals in the animal kingdom. Any two, if there was another lion species in Africa, at some stage it would have been outcompeted by the current species we have because of everything that they have, everything that they sort of overlap with regards to behavior would obviously be outcompeted in one way. You need to have a slightly specialized difference in what you do, especially with regards to food, so as to be separated. Chen, the warthog has no idea what's going on. I don't think it cares. It's clearly seen these jackal before, and like the jackal and the bat-eared fox, the warthog also uses burrows in the ground to breed in and to spend the night. So from a species point of view, anything that is too similarly related outcompetes the other one. It's just the way it works. It's why you have such diversity in the animal kingdom. You can't have two species that have or occupy the exact same niche. Otherwise, it's just the competition. So you might have them, for example, if you look in Africa, you'll have certain hyena species occurring up to a certain latitude, and then the spotted hyena, and then the striped hyena moves in at an exact sort of geographical line where the spotted hyena disappears. So that is exactly why you get different species that way. And speciation, oh, the zebra wants to photobomb. Speciation is all about that. Competition, food resources, available breeding sites. Okay, well, we're going to probably move on shortly because our one bat-eared fox has descended into the burrow. The jackal are still mulling around, but it seems like David is on the search for the sausage tree pride.
Very good for discovery of that den, Steve Ovo, and I think we'll be following those jackals for quite some time. So long as we have identified the den, they tend not to keep changing their homes. I have arrived now in the sausage territory. I now just need to get them out. And when I say we call them the sausage territories, sausage lions, is because they like climbing a tree that we call the sausage tree. But in the meantime, I want to show you a different tree here that is called a fig tree and is one of the iconic trees of the Mara. And every time I see this tree, it excites me before maybe I'm able to spot or smoke the sausage pride of lions out of where they are at the moment. But look at that beautiful tree. Look at the base and look at the trunk and how huge it is. And it's a very good home for leopards. There's none of them in the tree now. And yeah, Emma in the final control says, yes, that's a gorgeous tree. But once in a while you've seen leopards on top of that tree, not any now. Because the branches are quite solid and very big and a good hiding home for the leopards. Well, sausage trees are similar to that, but much smaller. And I think now let me go back to my business of looking for the sausages. This big eagle, sorry man, if Bungay will go back there, I'm not sure you can see it very well, top right. I'm not sure it was a martial eagle I saw right on top right. I just saw a wing of it go further up here, around there. I can't see it very well from here. It's either black-chested snake eagle or a martial eagle. If it could only turn, if she could only turn her head, the wind was blowing it, and to me it looked like the black-chested snake eagle, and maybe trying to scan. For that's a very old tree. It reminds me of the baobab trees which live for like thousands of years. This maybe it could be a couple of hundreds of years. Not sure exactly how old, but fig trees live for a very long time, Farah. Alrighty, moving on. Did you see something there? Oh, there's a... Oh, there it is in flight. Our eagle left, and my guess is that is a black-chested snake eagle. Very good job, Bungay. Snake eagles can see snakes from quite a distance. And there she flies, maybe coming towards us, maybe going the other way. Very good job. Yeah, it's black-chested snake eagle. Some will spot snakes even from about 3 miles away, almost 2 kilometers. I mean, almost like 5 kilometers. Okay. Moving on. Good work there, following that eagle, Bungay. Let's see if we can see the sausage lions around here. I've been a very good day with lions with Steve and Sydney. They continue breathing the fresh in the morning here. Some of the areas we got through will not see a single wildebeest as much as the very many of them. Okay, let's find out what Steve is up to now.
Well, it's a predator day indeed on the plains of the Mara. And here we have still got the jackal family that is running around and playing. I was just catching up on some reading, and all of the canid species throughout the world with regards to the wild forms, the wolf, the wild dog, Ethiopian wolf, the Cape fox, black-backed jackal, side-striped jackal, wild dog, bat-eared fox, are all extremely similar in everything with regards to sort of behavior and body form, far more so than domestic dogs are due to the breeding that's gone in. So you've seen the huge difference in dogs that we have around the world, all coming from the descendant of the wolf. But the traits and the changes really in the habitat preference is really what's changed the sort of lifestyle of these animals. Bat-eared foxes living in the sort of Somali Mara area and in the Kalahari in South Africa. The black-backed jackal being quite a diverse habitat specialist, being through open grasslands, savanna, sort of semi-woodland area, occurring throughout the southern parts of South Africa, or southern parts of Africa. The Ethiopian wolf having longer legs, being very specialized in the Ethiopian highlands, not occurring elsewhere. The Cape fox being more of a sort of a desert specialist down in the south. But all these species have sort of a tendency to be predatory, but hunting at the last, scavenging first if need be. But they're all geographically just different. That is how they've speciated to where they are now. It's all about the habitat that they've chosen and the adaptations that their bodies have required to live in those habitats. Obviously all having the necessary feet structure to dig and to jog and to move quite quickly. Predator evasion being quite similar. All denning in holes in the ground. But due to the prey sources that they have, being rodents, birds, scrub hares, insects, of course, fruit, obviously fruit not being prey. That zebra thought that was very funny. That is what's limited them to sort of grassland, woodland, savanna, rather than being sort of forest areas. Even the tundra, we find, what is it, the foxes up in the north living in those grassland areas, or the tundra due to the rodents and what is it other, there's a very interesting, the shoe hare, I think it's called the shoe hare, I forget, but obviously very specialized individuals up there. But very interesting how these have all speciated across the world, and only about 2.2 million years ago did sort of foxes or canid species sort of evolve from what was probably something very different before, and that's all to do with how the landscape has changed. They've evolved with sort of the open systems and the prey sources that have moved out. But thank you for joining us for this little time here with these foxes and jackal species, and we're going to move on and see what other interesting things we might be able to find for you this morning. But we'll be coming back to this den site from time to time, if that is okay with all of you, because we'd like to see how it all gets along with these bat-eared foxes. But while we move on and see what we can find, it seems like Sydney is still with the Talamati Mail.
So the Talamati Mail is right here with me at the moment, and I can see that he's now trying to groom himself. I've just been updated that the Talamati lion has just been kicked out yesterday by the Avoca Coalition. So that is why today he's so frustrated, calling everywhere. So updates just got to me just now. So you can see now that this lion is now going to be independent, or else must have to go back to the Unkuhuma Pride where I saw him last time. So when lions are experiencing these kind of challenges, the lions are very much big and taller than the leopards. If you look at this structure, look at the front legs, you can see the muzzles. The leopards have got a very kind of a flexible body, which is suitable for chasing an animal on the ground and also up in trees. So they've got short legs, the leopard, and a small head. This one is quite very big, and they can grow up to 190 to 200 and something kilograms. That is quite a lot, whereas the leopard can just weigh up to 90 kilograms. So you can see there is a big difference. So now let's quickly go to David in the Masai Mara, who's got a very interesting sighting at the moment.
Well, Nana, I hope you are still watching, and you requested to see Secretary Bird, and there you are. Sometimes we'll always tell our viewers, if you have any request, please just bring it through. If you're lucky, we'll try to do the best we can. And Nana, assuming you're still tuned in, that is the secretary bird you wanted to see. How lucky is that? And you can see it's a bit windy, and the wind is just pushing her. Wind just picked up. And let me just move forward a little bit. Nana, for you to see better, Bungei, just hold on for a few seconds. And maybe get a bit closer to her. In general, they travel in pairs, a male and a female, but at least we have one for you here, which I think is better than nothing. Keep going, Bungei. Keep going. All right. Bungei is happy there. Sorry, Bungei is my camera operator this morning. And that is the secretary bird with all the theories why we call them secretaries. If you look behind her head, she got those feathers sticking out, and people used to call them, or thought they were barrel pens or pens, when secretarial jobs were very fancy jobs. And when they walk, sometimes we say they are walking on high-heeled shoes, like secretaries maybe would wear. And another theory, we'll say they are like wearing black miniskirts. And if you're lucky to see their eyes, they have like some beautiful eyes, and they have done their eyelashes like girls would do. I mean, a combination of all those theories, gave them that nickname, secretary birds. And when they walk, we say they just walk like girls. Either she's going to the office now. I think Stuart is about 7:20 here. Is Stuart to be going to the office? Feeding on snakes in general. They feed, of course, on other reptiles like lizards, skinks, any insects they would catch. Margaret, very good. Is your favorite bird. And I'll tell you, Margaret, just to let you know, this bird here, it belongs to the eagles. It's more closely related to the eagles, and it is in its own genus, and we call it a ground eagle. It spends most of its time on the ground. Look at the eyes and can see it has some kind of makeup. So a combination of all those theories, we end up calling it the secretary bird. And talking of her eating snakes, if you forget to call her the secretary bird, you can call her Sagittarius serpentarius. Serpentarius coming from serpents, because they tend to hunt lots of snakes. And they'll use their feet just to trample or kill the snakes. And in general, sometimes they swallow them even before they die. And she's definitely on the hunt. Oops, there she goes. Maybe she caught something, running and chasing something maybe, and if it catches up, and I would guess that must have been, could it have been a rodent? Could it have been an insect that was flown also by the wind? And that's how they do the hunting. Pretty strong wind, eh? You can see she's losing her bearing as the wind is pushing her. Look at her feathers, how they're being blown by the wind. Sometimes such strong winds in the morning could be a sign of rains later in the afternoon. I could be wrong. The short rains, I think a viewer was asking about earlier, and it said they are rather late. Very majestic the way they walk. Got a zebra in the background there. I don't know who have a better walking style. Bungei, who do you think, the zebra or the secretary bird? Bungei says the secretary bird is quite majestic, and I hope, Margaret, you agree with Bungei and myself, and the zebra comes out second. A warthog, maybe, when walking on 4 legs, and the secretary bird on 2 legs. Quite a majestic walk, eh? I don't know where its partner would be. And they'll always have their nest on top of trees. So having spent most of the day on the ground searching for food, then later on in the evening, they climb and stay on their nest, very top, very high trees. And birds that also nest on very high trees like them would be heron. She is catching something for herself there. See how they use their feet just to kill whatever they find out. Okay, keep walking like John Walker, the Secretary Bird, and let's go across to South Africa, to Sydney, and find out what his lions are doing.
So you can see that now the lion is active again. He is now going around, still calling, trying to get hold of maybe the unkuhumas, or still talking to the very same avokas. This is an incredible sighting. You can see this lion is so very comfortable with our presence next to him. So I'm just going to carry on now following and see if we can have a better sighting again. I don't think he knows where he's going. He's looking frustrated. So it means now it's time for him to look for something to eat by himself. So the beginning of independence is always difficult to these lions. Lucy, the Unkuhuma pride might kick him out, yes, but I saw him on several occasions together with the Unkuhuma pride. Lions, the membership by the prides is very difficult for it to change. Mostly by these lions, membership changes when there's mortality or natality. When there's a birth or a death of a pride member, it's when it changes. They don't really welcome the intruders. So, but this one is growing very healthy, so he might be a very big male. So you can see this is very long. So I'm just trying to read where he's going. So maybe the Nkuhuma pride is somewhere in the area. As I indicated yesterday, I saw buffaloes. Nkuhumas mostly here are attracted by the buffalo sightings. Michael, I don't think so, because I haven't seen them and I haven't heard them. Not even their signs. I haven't seen their signs for quite a long time. So I don't think they've got a kill nearby. If there is a kill, he would have already got the updates and led us there. So now let's cross over to Steve, who's got one of the primates.
Well, thank you very much, Sydney. I hope you managed to keep up with that male lion, and maybe he takes you to some other lions. Fantastic it is indeed. A lion morning. Well, we've stopped at a little family once again of olive baboons, and we were talking earlier about the difference between species and speciation, and indeed the olive baboon falls into the same grouping as, oh, hang on, there's a little bit of, oh, hello, there we go, I want you to bite me on the leg. That's a female. We were talking yesterday about females. You can see how red and swollen she is at the back there, indicating that she's in estrus. and that male behind her might want to covet her if he's interested. But these baboons fall into the very similar sort of category as that of the savanna baboon. They are indeed savanna baboons, but due to geographical range, these are called olive baboons. So they have an overlap, but where they occur mainly, they are different species, although they fall under the same genus. So lots of similarities, and just the different climate would have changed them. So they've got a little bit more fur on them than we find down south. And as you go a little bit further south, then you get the yellow baboon, which is very similar to both species as well, but they're just a yellow in color, and that's got a lot to do with how they've evolved on the landscape. And as you go further south, then you get the next species, which is, well, as you know it, the chacma baboon that we find down in South Africa. When I just show you on my little picture, there's a picture on my map here. Ooh, it's a bit of discipline is about to happen. Let's see, on the right there is a little bit of agnostic behavior. But if you have a look at my book here, James, I've got the different species that occur across the African continent. And you can see the map that we have here. Here's the map in the top left corner. So the chacma baboon being the green at the very bottom. And then there's an area of overlap. I don't know if you can see it there. There's an orange. Let me just move it a bit. There's a bit of orange just above the green, and that is the area of overlap. And then the purple is the yellow baboon, which occurs all the way up to the eastern side of Africa. And then the green above is the olive baboon, which we have here. And then on the far, far east or west of Africa, there is another species there called the Guinea baboon. So they are all actually regarded as savanna baboons, but due to their geographical change and distribution, they have speciated and are actually regarded as different species. But there's potentially a potential for them to crossbreed, but they don't generally occur in too much of the same area. So that is how the jackal and certain species like that have kind of coexisted and co-evolved. They do not occur in the same area, and the climate that they live in, food resource, everything like that is a change, and it causes all sorts of things to change within geographical distribution. I hope that adds a little bit of sort of insight into what you were talking about, how these animals have evolved on the landscape. It's very difficult to have two baboon species living together. They will crossbreed and become one species, if that makes sense, or completely outcompete the other one. That is kind of what works in the African kingdom. If you believe it or not, 40,000 years ago, they reckon there were 5 to 6 species of hominids on the planet. And, well, guess who is left? Homo sapiens. Oh, hang on. Let's have a look. There might be some interest here. Barbara, baboons do indeed, as far as I'm aware, have the longest canines in the savanna ecosystems. Enormous canines. They're bigger than lions, longer than leopards, and, well, they are designed for fighting and defense. And in all the baboons that I've seen, the olive, the yellow, and the chacma, I have always noticed the chacma to seemingly be a little bit bigger, but then I've never really compared the two very closely together. I had a train of thought there that I've now completely lost. But anyway, we are with the baboons. They are feeding, doing what they do best. Oh, I was talking about Homo sapiens. Well, there were at least 5 to 6 species 40,000 years ago. If you believe me or not, there are fossil records. And, well, the only species of hominid left on the planet is Homo. Homo sapien, to mean the wise one. Can you believe that? We are the wise one, the ones that are polluting and destroying the planet. I don't call that very wise, but anyway, that is, there we go. There's going to be a little bit of play, maybe a little bit of false mounting there. Baboons are always fun to watch. So basically, Homo sapiens found other hominids, Homo erectus, Neanderthalensis, Homo neanderthalensis, and a couple of other different Homo species. And, well, exactly what happened, either, and they reckon there's some examples of where there's a little bit of crossbreeding between, and there's a bit of a genetic mix in certain parts of the world where some of those old Homo species are actually part of the Homo sapien race, and in other parts of the world they were completely wiped out in a genocide form. Deborah, most certainly gorillas are found in Rwanda and Uganda, in the very tropical rainforest areas of the central, and in Congo as well, in the central Africa, where it is very, very wet and very, very green, and that is exactly where gorillas like to spend their time. The African continent was once probably an entire forested area, and with the change in climate, the savanna ecosystem formed, and that forced monkeys and apes to move out of the forests, including ourselves, and baboons being one of those that moved out of the forest itself and took up sort of residence in the savanna, and that led to a little bit of speciation. But once upon a time, I'm sure most of the apes were very similar, living in forested areas, completely arboreal, and maybe living a little bit on the ground within the forests themselves, and the gorillas being the largest of the ape species, occurring in central Africa, in the very, very, very wet forests. And I'm hoping to one day get up there and have a look at them. I believe Tristan and Ali were actually up there not so long ago. They went to go see the gorillas. I think it was in Rwanda. There's definitely something for the bucket list. Here we go. Here's a big boy coming from the back there, James. You see him just coming through the sunlight. There's a big male baboon about to come in on the left of the screen. Here he comes. There's a big boy. Wow, isn't he? He is what we'd call in South Africa a meneer, which basically means a sir, a mister. The kind of guy that if you see, you take your hat off, you bow your head. Oh, here we go. Here we go. He's disciplining. That's what he does. See, he's the meneer, he's the boss. He walks in, and everybody has to show deference to him. There's more than one dominant male baboon in a troop, and well, every day they are challenged, and all that probably happened there, and it's exactly what happens in human society. If you think about a large gang, for example, if I was a low-ranking gang member and one of the leading gang members walked into the room and you gave him a bit of a weird look, he'd walk over and smash you. And that's exactly what happens in baboon society. It's all about attitude. It's all about dominance. And you don't look at big, scary people the wrong way, because invariably they don't like it. They don't like the challenge that's given, especially by a younger male. You're giving them a look. And in a year or two, maybe 3-4 years, that younger male might be bigger enough and strong enough to challenge the adult. But until that stage, he needs to make sure he's in his place. And that will happen on a daily occurrence, whereby young males invariably give a dominant male the wrong kind of look, because it's all about facial expression in the ape kingdom. If you think about how much communication we get past each other just through facial expressions, every now and again you might have someone say something to you and you're like, how did you know that? And they read it all over your face. Everything was on your face, and that's where the term poker face comes from. Someone who's able to mask their emotions. And it's not very easy for a lot of people. A lot of what we're thinking and a lot of intention is very, very clear on our face. And James, sorry, I've just spotted a little baby there. Back to the big male, if you wouldn't mind. The big male there, and just behind the big male, there's a baby baboon on mum's back, riding it like a motorbike. They're the one moving in the right there. There we go. Just going to quickly give you one little look at the baby that's holding on tightly to mum's back as they move around foraging. She's still reliant on mum for milk, but while we watch these baboons for a little while longer, it seems like Sydney has managed to catch up with his lion.
So the lion is now moving, and it's just roaring. Every time it's moving, and when lying down is roaring, you can see that he is so very much confused. So I'm just following him just to see where he's gonna go. Maybe he knows where the others are. As I indicated, the animals are so very much unpredictable. I am not too sure in terms of the exact age, but considering the mane which is growing now is telling me that he has just turned 2 years not long time ago. So I can see that he's got some blood a little bit on the tail. So it means the fight between him and the Unkuhuma and the Avokas was too tough yesterday. A safari sari, the lions, they make different sounds for different reasons. If you listen to the lions when he's trying to warn the others, he will be making noise such as and when the female is communicating with the little one, she will be just calling like a very soft kind of a roar so that the little one can come. And that, impalas as well, they make a call like that when they're calling their little ones. So I don't want to lose him. I can see that he's walking very fast now. So now let's go back to Steve, who's got still the baboons.
Well, we are still with the baboons. I don't mind spending time with them, especially when there's little youngsters like that are moving around and hiding now in mum's breast. But something that often happens, for example, if that male baboon was walking in and he was going to cause trouble with one of the other males, maybe a male that was not dominant, what often happens is a sort of a big male baboon who is probably getting a little bit of a beating from time to time will actually grab a baby baboon and run off with it. It causes enormous amount of pandemonium within a troop, but he grabs it basically to protect himself, because no big male baboon is going to come and beat him up while he's holding a baby, purely because it's just like, for example, in human society, if someone's holding a child, are you really going to give him any? You're not really going to do anything, are you? It's kind of one of those things like, oh, he's got the baby, everyone leave him alone, sort of thing. You don't want to hurt the child. So often you see that. I saw it the other day in our camp. The male baboon ran and grabbed a baby and off he went. And the males were after him, but they let him be, because clearly he had a little bit of a hostage and some negotiating power. But as soon as he gives that baby back, he's in a whole lot of trouble, because he's kind of crossed certain ethical boundaries in baboon society, but he does it purely to avoid being beaten. There we go, enjoying some leaves and foliage. There's a little baby playing in the sunshine at the back there still. Jackie, baboons are very funny, in fact. If any female is in estrus, any male will mate with her, including youngsters. Young males actually sneak in from time to time, but generally what happens is that if a female is sort of in estrus, she presents herself to the big dominant males, and then they take interest in her and follow her around. But they are invariably quite promiscuous and will essentially mate with absolutely anybody. There's no real sort of hierarchy with regards to that, but if a big dominant male sees that happening, he generally takes a little bit of offense and might chase that younger male around. But also, I suppose it happens, the youngsters are practicing they attempt to mate. It isn't always successful, but the females who are in estrus are generally quite sort of excitable and are pretty keen on anybody. It is quite funny to watch. I see them prostrating in front of anybody. If she's not able to catch the attentions of a big male, well, she'll take it from wherever she can get it. But you can think about baboon society as almost like, if you look deep into sort of a gang in a prison. James, the baboon sizes up here are pretty large. It's probably due to the availability of food. The territories, I'm sure, or the home ranges are probably as big as well, or bigger than those down in South Africa, or they might be smaller, actually, if I think about it. The food resource means that the territories can be a bit smaller. But yeah, most of the baboon troops I've seen here have been 40, 50 plus, somewhere around there, whereas in Djuma, they don't seem to get as big. But that's all about food resource. You can find baboons in other areas of the Kruger National Park where food is more abundant and the troops can get a little bit bigger, the gang as you were. And what you'll often find in baboon society, as I was saying a moment ago, to sort of relate them to sort of a prison gang, you'll get younger males that will actually do favors for the big dominant males, kind of like in prison. I'll do you a bit of a favor, sir. And then as soon as one of the sort of less dominant males gives that younger one a bit of trouble, he'll often sort of call on the assistance of his big boss friend, his sponsor. Hang on, sorry, James. You got the piglets on this side. I'm going to just turn here. Sorry, there's some baboon action happening behind us, and the big male is going to step in and sort it out. Let's just have a listen. We'll have a listen to the screams and shouts as sort of younger baboons are fighting. It often attracts the attention of a dominant male who will come in. Yeah, he's not too bothered at the moment. The screams aren't too loud. But it's just like in human society where bigger ones will bully littler ones. And sometimes that they'll incur the wrath of the dominant ones, depending on how sort of aggressive it becomes. Sort of like dad giving the bigger brother a beating. Sorry, Em, something Lauren asked about baboon voices. I didn't quite get that. But I'm hoping we're going to get some real fun action coming out here. It's happening every day around our camp. Hello, Lauren. You want to know why baboons seem to respond to male voices? I'm not sure if they respond to male voices, as it were, but they definitely recognize a human male versus a female. There's a body posturing, there's a testosterone, there's something that baboons are very good at identifying. As I said, everything in baboon society is about body language and posture, facial expressions. They're an intelligent being. After a period of time, they can obviously identify males versus females, and they tend to become a bit more afraid of males than females, and we've even tested that theory. I worked at a lodge, there we go, the baby's catching a ride on mum. Tested that theory at a lodge I worked at years ago, where baboons used to cause all sorts of trouble. As soon as all the guides and trackers went out, they would come in and help themselves to food. They'd even come and open the fridges in the long bar where everybody met for coffee and tea, and it was always ladies generally on shift, and the baboons couldn't care less. But once we dressed up a tracker as a female, and the baboons knew it was a male. They could tell. The body language, everything about that individual was male. So they're very clever. They're able to identify all sorts of things, and maybe there is a difference in the resonance of a voice that they can pick up as well. I mean, surely we can pick up the difference between a female voice and a male voice, and, well, most of the time we can identify human males versus females, and when you look at baboons, you can generally tell who's a male and a female, all about sort of size, shoulders perhaps, the head. So they definitely know that there's a bit more risk tackling with just on the left here. Uh-oh, nature is calling. It didn't like that. Sorry, folks. We just had a little bit of animal porn in the bush for a moment there. But it seems as if Sydney's male lion is calling. So let's go and hear what he's saying.
So my lion is still roaring. You can see he's attempting again there. So he has just been roaring since this morning. And now I can see that he is about to relax. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to drive past the hyena den just to see if he did not pass there, because he came from that area, just to monitor the hyena den. And then from there, I'll be looking for Hosanna, who was seen last around the Viotella pen area. You can see that black by the ears there. Maybe he will be fine because now I can promise you, I can read that he is so very much frustrated because of the fight he had with the avokas last night. Avokas are very powerful. They are well fed. So now is the time for him to groom himself. I saw when he was with the Unkuhumas, he was grooming some other females there. But the Unkuhumas were not grooming the Mangini males. So the Unkuhumas, they do groom this Talamati male. So I think he is welcomed a little bit there by the Unkuhuma pride. So I will leave him around here and now go to the hyena den. He came from that area. I just want to check if he did not visit the hyenas because 2 days ago I saw the other 2 lions visited the hyena den. So we might be lucky around that area with Hosanna. Tingana, I left him somewhere by the Buffalo's Hook Dam last night. So this afternoon, maybe we might try a Tingana. But this morning, I want to see if we can find Hosanna. Maybe after the scrub he caught by the dam camp, he might have caught another big animal. So now let's cross over back to the Masai Mara where Steve is now having some elephants.
Well, it wouldn't be a morning in the Mara without some elephant. So, well, we thought we'd stop at this beautiful breeding herd once again, who are feeding in the open plains. The light is just gorgeous. I'm trying to find out exactly what it is that they're feeding on. There's a little bit of long grass, a bit of a marshy area. There we go. She's picking up the grass there, pulling out the roots, knocking off the soil from the roots, and then in mouth it goes. Nice fibrous sort of grasses here, keeping up with a mixed diet of forbs, sweet grasses. This is a little bit more sort of cellulose rich to give it the structure to stand up as tall as it does. Nico viewer, you want to know how thick an elephant's skin is. It's a couple of inches thick in certain places, and it's very, very dense. Impossible for a snake to, or should I say, for many biting things to penetrate the skin. The hide is very, very thick. Obviously, the youngsters are a little bit thinner than the adults, but a good 2 inches, I'd say, in most places. But around the genital area, around the eyes and on the ears, it's obviously much, much thinner. Behind the ears, a very thin membrane of skin there that's where they cool themselves down. Here you can see a little youngster that's using its trunk just like mum to try and get all the nourishment that it can get. Still quite a small little youngster there, about 2.5 years old. You'll probably be able to see the tusks starting to slowly emerge, like its cousin behind it there. The tusks have just come out, and there the adult at the background, much bigger tusks. But the youngster in the front on the right is going down quite low, It's trying to work out exactly what to do with the breaking of these grasses. I haven't quite got the technique that the adults have for grabbing it and pulling the roots and all out of the ground. Tuti, you want to know if lions or elephants have got a stronger social bond? Well, most certainly elephants do. Elephants form a family for life. They live a much longer sort of period. Lions most certainly have a bond, but seemingly, well, they obviously need to have a bond to be able to hunt and to feed together. But elephants have a relationship. They have a family. They have a love for each other. They mourn each other. They show, they caress each other. They most certainly mourn each other's death. They'll come back year after year after year. Lions, on the other hand, have a bond, most certainly, but if that animal goes missing, they seemingly don't even seem to show too much sort of change in behavior. But it's a very interesting question. It's hard to really categorize that sort of thing on an emotional scale. What you do see is that because the elephants live up to 60 years of age, where lions don't live longer than 15, maybe 16 at the most. I mean, it's really hard to put that into a category, isn't it? The lions spend a lot less time together, but they need each other. The elephants don't need each other with regards to hunting, with regards to securing resources. They move around together as a family unit. They enjoy each other's company. There's definitely play that they have. Lions play for not maybe for the joy of it, but generally for the necessity of honing their hunting skills. Tamira, if an elephant's trunk was injured or hurt, it all depends on the degree at which it is injured. It's amazing how adaptable an elephant is with an injured trunk. I've seen a number of elephants with half trunks. There we go. Look at the technique of, oh no, don't want that plant. But there's little forbs that they're popping up. With a short trunk, they're still able to feed. Any shorter than half a trunk I've never seen before, so I'm not 100% sure. But I've never seen elephants feeding other elephants. What I have seen only is adults giving youngsters a little bit of fecal content, basically picking up their dung and putting it in their mouth. But other than that, I've never seen elephants physically grabbing food and feeding each other. With a trunk that's very badly injured, it does heal. The elephant just seems to get by. Okay, well, it seems like David is not far behind the rest of us and has managed to find some lions of his own.
Well done, Steve, with the elephants. And I got the pride of lions I was looking for, the sausage tree lions, and got some 2 cubs lying there and trying to shield themselves from the wind. These 2 here are siblings, and we think they're about 10 weeks old. And very typical of lions, they have started to learn very early what they'll be doing as they get older. Sleep, snooze, sleep, and snooze. Now, that could be one of the mothers there. And this pride consists of 5 females, and all the 5 are here together, enjoying the shade of the magic nguare tree. And one of the most famous lionesses in this pride is what we call a kinktail, and that there she is, the kinktail. And if you look on her tail, it has a little knot. Of course, you can't see it right now, but hopefully if she's going to rise and shine, we are going to see that knot on her tail. She is the oldest, maybe 7 years or so. Christy, yes, with you. Well done for enjoying this. We have been trying to locate them since 6 o'clock in the morning, and finally here they are. And one of them, if we're going to turn around shortly later, we think she might be popping out pretty soon. She is, I would say, she looks very heavy and she is panting, and not this hour of the day when cats do pant. It's not very hot, but we're just discussing it, me and Bungay, and we thought because she is very due and very close to drop her cubs, that's why maybe she is panting. And that could be one of the reasons why the other females have stayed very close to her. Let me just move forward and show you the one I'm thinking is the one that might be popping out her cubs very soon. There are two sets of cubs here, one set of 10 weeks old and another set that is 6 weeks old. And of the 6-week-old, one cub is missing. And for about a week now, nobody have seen it, or about 5 days. And we do not know what might have happened to it. But a lot happens out here in the wilderness. Could be predation of some kind, hyenas, vultures, leopards, snake bite. It could be anything. Now, these are 3 of the females. Is that good angle, Bungay? Or do you want me to move forward a little bit? Straight. How's that? Good? That. So, here we have all the 5. I'm sure Bungay is going to show you all the 5. And 2 of them that have the cubs will definitely see the circle marks. And that one there is the one we think maybe in less than a week or so, or 10 days, she might pop up and drop her cubs. They'll always get anything 1 to 4 cubs. Look at that one there that's panting. Yes, that's the one that I actually thought should be the one that is very, very due. Because it's cool, it's not as hot. It's about what, 8 o'clock. It's under some very good shade cover. But it tells you, like during the day, in the heat of the day, when they have eaten a lot, boom, there she goes. Look at the belly, yeah? The last they had a meal was 2 days ago. So that belly is not because of food. I would guess it's because of the cubs. And they pant a lot, like in the heat, in the middle of the heat of the day, and when they have eaten so much. But my guess is for her to pant like that, she is due any time. Now that one, if you look carefully, you got a bit of circle marks there. Could be one of the mother of the cubs there. Thank you, Bungay, for that. But see the difference in the breathing there. This to me is the normal breathing for lionesses at this time of the day. And remember, this is a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions, please send them through. Any comment, #SafariLive on Twitter. Typical going flat. As we saw the cubs, you can imagine what the mothers are teaching them, that sleeping or snoozing is part of our lives. That way, the energy saving. And also see that panting there. We'll be following these lionesses pretty closely, and maybe we can come back here this afternoon or tomorrow. And there's a cub there. If you look carefully, there's a head popping up. And I think she is nursing there. If you look carefully, there's a little small head of one of the lion cubs there, and I think she is nursing. There she is. All right, let's go across to Sydney in South Africa and find out the latest from him.
Look at that, I've got the first baby impala of the season. Look at the baby impala there now. I was so very lucky. This is my first impala of this year. First baby. Look, the baby is running away. So it means now impalas are starting to give birth. So you can see the little one is walking in front right there. You can see the mother is busy now pushing the little ones to walk forward. This is interesting. I'm just going to pull forward so that we can see them maybe nicely from here. Look at the baby there. So now is when the impalas are starting to give birth. Second week of November is when they are all starting to... There's some warning calls here where I am. So I'm just going to pull forward again so that we can improve this sighting. This is very special. This is my first little one for this year. So you can see the little one is there right behind the mother. The little one is looking at that. Look, the little one is already equipped with the black tips on the ears. So it's so small, it can easily hide in the middle of grasses. Look at that. So the impalas are very much clever. They give birth now during the day because, look, the little one is now trying to get to the milk and also picking the scent from the mother as well. So impalas gives birth when it's during the day to avoid the predators. They know during the day the predators now, when the sun is hot, is when they are very relaxed. So that little one already can go very fast. They were right on the road when we found them. So it means more babies are on the way. So the little one is shriveling the ears as if it's well experienced. That little one must be less than a day old. It's very small. So animals can give birth and be ready to run very fast. Yeah, look at that now. Look. So the little one is so very small. See, it's difficult to see that little one when it's in the middle of the grasses. So let's see the little one following. Look at that. Carrie, the baby impalas are so cute. That is true. I agree. Now they're going to come to a nice opening. You can see the mother is feeding now. There must be some green grass there. Look at that. Welcome to the beginning of the special broadcast. My name is Sydney Fumurani Mikosi, and I am right here with the first baby impala of the season. This is the first sighting. One of the impalas has just introduced us to a newborn. This is amazing. It's showing that the impalas are now convinced when it comes to the greener pasture. So impalas are one of the clever animals who normally consider the grass coming back after the rain. Now, grass is back, it's getting green, and they are starting to give birth. So they just got disappeared. It's very much difficult to see them again, but they're somewhere there. So I'm just going to move forward now to try and have a better sighting. Jory, this is the first baby we are seeing here, and I am sure it's the first baby as well, because I haven't heard any record about any other sighting of the baby impala so far. See, all the impalas, they only have one baby at a time. So that is correct. So that impala is so very much shy. So she is trying by all means and hide the little one. They are somewhere behind the thick bushes at the moment. So I can see they're just going to come out there by the little opening. Look at that. Where is the little one? Maybe the little one is still, yes, is going to pass there. You can see the little one is coming. Look at that. That little one is very small. It is equipped already with the tips on top of the ears and the stripes at the back. Follow me signs. Look at that. And this is, Annette, this is so cute. I'm really enjoying this sighting. So the predators such as jackals is the one who sometimes tend to attack these little ones. So when these animals are starting to give birth, there will be quite a lot of small predators coming out, hoping for a chance to take their babies. See, Al, the impalas, the males starts to collect the females for breeding purposes from January. But breeding season is by the May season, is May month. It's called a rutting season. You will find the male chasing each other, making noises such as that is to rat. It's where this name ratting is coming from. After that, females are going to be pregnant for a period of approximately 200 days. And they give birth now by the second week of November. Julian, the survival rate of the impalas, they are very much high because impalas, they normally walk as a group. What is happening now is that when they are about to give birth, normally animals, they isolate themselves, give birth. Sometimes some of the animals, they team up to give birth in order to protect the little one. So here is about the mother going away in order to sniff the little one, to learn the scent, and to give the little one a chance to learn the mother, so that when they are in a group, in a herd, they can be able to recognize each other. So this little one now is hiding, and he or she is bringing us to the end of the very special broadcast. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. Welcome back after such a lovely sighting of the first baby of the impala I am seeing here by the Juma Game Reserve. This has been one of my best sightings. Yes, it was not a clear sighting, but this was good. So now I'm going to carry on to the hyena den. So now let's cross over to David by the Masai Mara, who is having the lions at the moment.
Well, Sydney, well done for a baby impala, and from a baby impala to a baby lion. This is part of the sausage pride of lions. And this is one of the 10 weeks old cubs, and he still got her sister or brother. It's the other younger one that might have lost the other one. Did you see another one there? Bungay is one of them. And because of the wind, they're trying to shield themselves away from the strong wind. Look at that position she is sleeping in. I'm not sure she's dead asleep or half asleep, because most lions are light sleepers. They never take any chances. And how peaceful is she, eh? A bit difficult to know what sex she would be now at that age, but anything from 3 or 4 months, or if you're lucky to look below her tail, you can tell what sex she is, but not as yet. The spots still quite conspicuous, and as they age, they'll disappear. Do you know what would happen when it come time to drop the babies? You're talking of about 100 days. We'll get all of the other lions pretty close. Now, this group or this pride here has 5 females together. And I was saying earlier, one of them we think is pregnant and she might be popping her cubs any time now. So the others, because of safety, they will stay very close to her. Very unusual for the mothers to give birth when the rest are far. They know the challenges they face of predator competition, be they hyenas mainly, or sometimes the wild dogs. Here in the Mara, it's more of hyenas than any other predator. So they will want to be as close as possible to the female. So the other females act like midwives, but the whole idea is just to make sure she is safe, and most likely they will eat the sack just to make sure the bath is discreet and it's not picked up by the hyenas. Hyenas have been known to predate on lion cubs. Some big eagles also, like the martial eagle, have also been known to feed on these small little cubs. But the biggest challenge normally are other lions. Male lions have been known to eat or kill any cubs they get in a pride, especially if there is a takeover. Once they go to 4 or 5 months, that's always a very good age, even for the cubs to fight for themselves. And sometimes the mothers also will fearlessly defend their cubs from maybe there would be new males in the pride. Sleep, sleep. Niconico viewer, we have 5 females here. 2 of them, until now, each had 2 cubs. And lions will drop anything 1 to 4, and this one's each dropped 2. The one that we just saw, Niconico viewer, I think to me she might be dropping 3. Now, the cubs' numbers will be determined on the success of the females. And lionesses, or the cubs' mortality to me is always big when it comes to hunger. We got lots of wildebeest around, and before they all leave to head to south or to Serengeti in Tanzania, I got a feeling they'll make it through and the numbers will go up. So it will be these 5 plus now the 3 that are still remaining, makes them 8. Without counting the males that are around in this territory, we got 3 males, and the main guy being 1 male that we call Kipuli, which I would guess, not 400% sure, could be the father of these cubs here. Well, they're enjoying their sleep, and we might maybe let them keep enjoying their snooze, which is very characteristic of lions, and keep sleeping, and we might come back later to find out what they could be doing. In the meantime, let's go back to Sydney, who I think he got a feathered friend.
So I am now seeing the baby vulture right on top of this amarula tree. This baby was out just now and now just got back. And I was here a few days ago, the same thing happened. And a few days ago, something interesting took place there. The little one was battling to walk and can't fly. She's still very young, got to be taught how to fly. So this little one is here behind by herself. So this is a vulture nest. Vultures, if you look at their legs, the legs of the vultures are so very weak. That is why this kind of birds cannot catch meat from the dead animal and bring it back home holding from the legs. And the vultures has got a very interesting behavior in order to cool the hotness of the sun. These animals, they have got a very strong stomach acid. And that uric acid, the one which is by the branch there, if you can see it, the top branch on top of the nest, the white, yes, that white patch there. So the white patches you are seeing there is uric acid. This kind of uric acid from the stomach, when these birds defecate, sometimes they defecate on their legs, and they do that with a purpose. The droppings of this, because of the corrosive acid from the stomach, it kills the bacteria that are attached to the legs when they are walking around the carcass. And apart from that, urinating over the legs, it helps them as a thermoregulatory strategy. When the sun is hot, that white color reflects the heat. It protects the legs and it protects them in order to get rid of the heat, and so that they prevent sunburn. So you can see these birds are so well gifted. So it's called urohydrosis. So that is when... So this is the baby from the Wahlberg vulture. So I've seen the adults before here. It was just that today we are not lucky with them, because when the sun is hot, vultures, they don't wake up very early, but they wait for the sun. When the thermal is good, they can be able to even see the thermal from the ground, because here by the roads where it's bare patched, the thermal starts there and they take it up. Then you will see them going higher and higher. So now we're going to carry on and see what we are going to find by the hyena den. The vultures, I didn't get nicely the name of the viewer, but I did get the question nicely. The vultures are scavengers. And Nabi, the vultures are scavengers. So which means they only feed on the other animals' remains. Yes, they can kill something to defend themselves because they've got very strong beak. The eagles can take the lion cubs. That is why cats, when they're still very young, is when they're going through a vulnerable stage, because the eagles, such as the martial eagles, can take them. So cats, like I indicated earlier, they've got quite a lot of threat, but the biggest threat is their own. How the cats, the lions, go through the teething process. When the teeth are starting to come out, that kills the baby lions the most than these predators. That's why when this cat has got 3 or 4 babies, you will only find 1 left or 2 left, because when teething, they experience a severe pain which kills the babies. So this is the area where sometimes Hukumuri, one of the male leopards, comes from. So all I'm seeing here is the hyena tracks, just the hyena tracks. So now let's cross over to David, who's got the sleepy lions.
Just talking about the males around this area, and I said there's one particular male that we call Kipuli, which is a dominant one in the coalition of the lions around here. I'm sure we all know females form what we call a pride, and the males have their own world in what we call a coalition. This is not Kipuli per se. Kipuli, if you look on the on the nose, well done there, Bungay, it has like a little dent or cleft on the one side of the nose, I think the left side, and Kipuli means like an earring in our local language. So this is the other male that hangs with Kipuli, and there's another one of the same age that joined Kipuli to form a coalition of 3, and I think Kipuli was happy to have 2 members join him to make a stronger coalition to face off would-be other intruders. Look at the belly of that guy. He is very well fed. and not sure that's a tick. If you move back there a little bit, Bungay, I do not know what that is. Looks like a tick to me, and if it's a tick, it must be very well fed, or is it a little scar? Looks like a tick that must have been sucking lots of blood. Or yeah, must be a tick that's so full, like a vampire that have sucked so much blood from this male lion. You can see the breathing there, a bit slow, not panting at all. Flies on top of her body. So yes, this is a big tummy, and I would say, how many kilos of food do I would imagine? Maybe I would say 20 kilograms of meat in that tummy, 40, 50 pounds. Lions tend to eat a lot, especially the males. They eat a little bit more than the females. And you can see how the wind is blowing his mane. And you can tell the difference in colors of that mane. The front part being a little blondie, and the one at the back being dark. And those are some of the qualities the females would be looking for when they want to mate. Sometimes the bigger the mane, the stronger the lions, and that would give some good progeny to the females. And you'll see females hanging out like Kipuli has such nice huge mane. Crapo lions will sleep anything 15 to 22 hours. 15 to 22 hours. And of course, males sleeping more than the females. But just like the females you were watching earlier, hopefully you are watching, they would sleep the same if the females also have the right conditions, like this male. Talking of right condition means they are very well fed, they have drunk enough water, and they have some nice shade and nice bedding area. They would equally sleep the same number of hours. So 15, 20, 22 hours is not unusual, and more so for the males. And I'll not be surprised if we come back later here and find this guy still sleeping at the same spot. Sweet dreams, male lion. Can see all the paws there. When they have to get their own food, they use those paws to swipe or whack. I would be prey, be it a zebra or a wildebeest. And, you know, some of the slaps of these male lions could be anything like 300 pounds. And I'm trying to imagine 300 pounds of weight on your head, pop like that very quickly bring you down. And before the prey is up, they tend to jump on the neck, and they do what we call strangulation and suffocation, twist the neck and choke or close all the airways, and that way the prey will definitely have to go down and they'll enjoy their meal. Mr. Lion, enjoy your snooze. Cold breeze, one of the reasons why lions will sleep that much is because they are energy saving, and by so doing, whatever they might have eaten, for example, this one, I'll not be surprised if he goes another 2 or 3 days before he goes for another hunt, or if the sausage pride of lionesses will go for some food before he decides to go and sneak. I'll not be surprised if he goes 2 or 3 days, and that allows very slow digestion. And 2, 3, 4 days, he could easily go without another meal. Enjoy your snooze. We're going to be moving on, and maybe, hopefully, we'll see you there in the afternoon. What do you think, Bungay? Okay, vámonos. Okay, we're going to keep looking for maybe other lions. I was surprised to see that male, but in the meantime, we'll take you over to Steve.
Fantastic lion morning indeed, and we thought, well, seeing as there are lions all over the place, we might try and find a couple more. We've got a report that those 2 male lions, thinking it's the same from yesterday to the Triangle Boys, are somewhere down here. We spoke with one of the rangers. I didn't understand everything, but I've got 2 gentlemen on the car who do. So hopefully, in the next little while, we'll be able to find 2 males from yesterday and see if they've managed to walk off their buffalo. Really interesting what potentially happens after dark, because that one lioness we saw this morning, I'm not sure how clear those wounds came out on the screen for you, but she was very badly injured on her tail, underneath on her back leg, and what happened, who can say? But you can always assume potentially another lion, or she got in a confrontation with some hyena, but it's really hard to say without actually being there. All I know is that she was a grumpy girl this morning, even growling at us, which you don't get in the Mara. You don't get lions growling at your car. That's just because she's uncomfortable and a little bit sore. And that's why it's important to understand that even if you know an animal very well, every single day their comfort zone is going to be slightly different. So never assume that you can just drive straight up to cats, elephants, anything like that. Every day they might have a little bit more, something might have gone on to cause them to be a bit grumpy. And when we drove up towards it this morning, she went a little bit low, so we stopped and you could hear her just under the breath. Most certainly, lions seem to identify each other by their call very, very easily. We hear a lion calling and we go, oh well, it's a lion calling. Then I suppose if a lion heard a human calling, they'd be like, oh look, it's a human calling. But you can identify if it's your mother or your father or your granny. You can understand, can't you? You know the difference. So there's little sort of idiosyncrasies to the lion call that we can't really perceive, but lions most certainly know exactly who and what is going on. Just like I find amazing that lions can see each other from 50 meters, 100 meters and know that that's sibling or friend or foe just through their visual, and we can be right up close with photographic evidence and still struggle to identify who that animal is. So lions to us all look quite similar, but then I suppose we look quite similar to lions. It's one of those things. As you spend more and more time with individuals, you become a little bit more accustomed to the differences. Like Nikki Austin, one of our director producers, is phenomenal at identifying lions. Phenomenal at first glance. I'm just going to go right over here. Yes, I got a thumbs up from the back. We're still in the marsh area, but it's quite an intricate road network in and around to get to some of these areas. And where the buffalo carcass was, probably about 2 to 3 kilometers that way now. So those 2 male lions, if it is indeed the same two, certainly walked off their dinner and breakfast and lunch. Because if you were with us last night, you would have seen how bloated and full they really were. They couldn't even be bothered to get the flies off their face. Stefan Winterboer would be disgusted at the flies. He's not a big fan of flies because they land on all sorts of things that are not very palatable. Lions' faces, lions' feces, and they can land here. Duke, you'd probably most certainly find pythons. Not so long ago, Musiara, which is just on the other side of the river there, very recently saw a photograph of probably the largest python I have ever seen. It looked like it had a hippopotamus inside. I'm joking, it wasn't that big, but it was huge. So pythons, they really do enjoy this sort of landscape. This is puff-adder sort of terrain. This thick vegetation, lots of wet grassy areas is ideal landscape for frogs and rodents and small little gerbil-like animals. And well, as soon as you've got the food, well, the snakes will come in. Lots of areas for them to hide away in and to move underneath this sort of thick grassy layer undergrowth. They can evade the detection of aerial predators, and most certainly there are a lot of snakes out here. A lot of snakes. And pythons, most certainly they do occur up here. And that photograph, I'm just trying to see if I can find it and share it with you all. It is probably the largest rock python I've ever seen. Jamie wants to know, sorry, Em, with what wild animal? Jamie wants to know about what do you do if you come face to face with a wild animal. Was there another point to, was it just a wild animal or any specific? Okay, so just a wild animal. Jamie, you want to know what's the best thing to do if you come face to face? So I'm assuming you're talking on foot, Jamie. If you're in a vehicle, well, everything's pretty much okay. If let's start with the vehicle. If we're in a vehicle and that tree over there is a wild animal, I would just stop right where I am. I'd switch off the car and I would just pay attention to what it's doing. How is it behaving? Is it showing any sort of negative behavior? From this distance, I've got plenty of time to reverse and get out of here. If that animal is showing absolutely no response, no negative behavior, you can go a bit closer, a little bit closer, a little bit closer. When it comes to being on foot, though, well, you need to give animals plenty of space. It's the same sort of thing. You stop from far away, have a look. The most important tool for the guide is a pair of binoculars. If you come to animals from a distance, well, then you need to pay attention to what they're doing. But if you come face to face, if you're walking along and suddenly a lion steps up in the long grass, well, you need to stand your ground. You need to look at it in the eye. And, well, you need to try and shout at it. If it comes towards you, you need to try and shout at it without sounding like a high-pitched scream. You need to be very deep in the voice. And ideally, the lion will run away. Yeah? Textbook stuff. Well, hopefully, Jamie, if you are out in the African wilderness, you'll be with a qualified person who can assist you in all of these things. You don't go walking out here on your own or in these environments without someone who knows what they're doing. Once you've learnt all the idiosyncrasies of animal behavior and how to walk in the bush, well, until that stage, make sure you've got someone who's qualified to do so. But most wild animals invariably have a fear of man on foot, and they generally move off. Generally, if you give them space, don't ever push on an animal, don't ever get too close to it. If it's showing any form of negative behavior, then you shouldn't be there. You should have moved back. So inexperienced people will pressure animals, and inexperienced people are the ones who generally get injured, generally get themselves and the people with them injured. So you've always just got to pay attention. If you're driving up towards a lion and it's sleeping, and you're getting a little bit closer and a little bit closer and it's still sleeping, well, clearly the animal is relaxed. But if you're driving along and the lion looks up at you like this, well, then just switch off the car and see what happens next. And then if it relaxes again, you can switch on and drive a bit closer. But if it ever goes down flat, well, then you've done something wrong. You've done something wrong. Or good chance that someone on the back of your vehicle is standing up and showing the lion that there's a human on board. In that case, you need to be aware and tell that person to sit down very quickly. And as soon as they do, well, it's amazing how quickly those lions generally calm down. They don't like seeing people on foot. Okay, well, it looks like we have found some lions, but while we get a little bit closer to view them, let's go back down to Sydney for an update.
So you can see that I've got the buffaloes here. It's quite a very big herd, and this herd has got quite a lot of little ones. I can see about 3 or 4 little ones. Look at that. So, but the little ones, they were not like born today, like the one we saw from one of the impalas. So this big herd is now going towards the Galagop hen. I will follow them. It's going to be a lovely sighting by the Galagop hen very, very shortly. It's even quite difficult to count how many. So if you look at the body coloring of these animals, they are much more dark. And this darkness is the one that brings them hot temperatures. So for them, in order to regulate the body temperature, they have got to depend on the external environment. They must have to then go under trees. They must have to go in water. They must have to do mud wallowing. Look, they are now even having some green grass. This is lovely to see that the buffaloes, they did not even lose much weight, and the grasses are now coming back when they're still in a very good condition. Grasses, the nutritious grass shows the condition of the veld. So when you are doing veld condition of assessment, it starts from the grass. The grasses are very important. This is one of the big herds. So this group, it doesn't have a dominant male. It's led by a lot of males. You'll see them in front with the big boars. Those are called the pathfinders. Pathfinders are the ones who got a chance to eat the fresh grass because they are the ones to approach the grasses. And when they get the fresh grasses, the other ones to the back is the one who eat last. So pathfinders are always much healthier than those that are walking at the back. So one of them has just given a call now. So you can see the female passing now on the road here. She have lost weight a little bit. You can see even the ischium. Ischium is the bone there at the back. Because she has got a baby, the baby is drinking the milk, and that is what is lowering the condition of the mother. So I'm going to drive back now and go down to the Galago pen, where I am hoping to see these buffaloes drinking. And that is where I am going to look for Osana. Maybe Osana will be there welcoming this very big herd. But now let's cross over to Steve, who has just found lions.
Well, indeed, we have found what I think is the paradise pride. There, all you can see above the bush there is a lion's head with some ears. There are some impala between us and her, but to the right, well, we'll first see the impala. They have absolutely no idea that there's a lion staring at them through the thickets. But if we go back to that lioness and we scan just behind her, you'll be able to see that there's actually a number of other animals there. At the moment, we can count 8. So just from what we are thinking, from the area we're in, there's a paradise pride. You can see them there in the long grass. There's a couple also just behind that bush on the left. But they're all looking at these impala, but it's only the one lioness that is actually doing anything about it. Impala would be a perfect meal for this small pride. Well, for the 8 of them anyway. Actually, it'll be just a little hors d'oeuvre, to be honest. There's a couple of youngsters in the pride. And there you just see her head sticking above the bush. When the grass is not that long anymore, lions need whatever cover they can use to ambush and to stalk and to get any closer. You can tell the wind is a little bit across. Well, you can't tell, but it's coming across us. So the impala are a little bit vigilant. And there's 2-year-old males there. How splendid it is that Sydney spotted the first baby impala down in Djuma. It is really an interesting time of year when the babies start dropping, because then they just become the majority of the food for the predators down in South Africa. Tim, the lions are being slack as well. The thing is, at this time of year, as the lions are eating so much that, well, it's just instinct for them to hunt. The other ones, being mainly youngsters at the back there, are either very hungry and waiting for mum to provide food, or they are so full they couldn't really be bothered. So we can't really see the bellies of any of them. They're all lying quite low down in the grass. But instinctively, lions just have to hunt. They just can't help themselves. And there's actually a second lion just on the left of the screen there, a little youngster that's popped its head out. I don't think that's going to be much help. A little 6, 7 month old youngster is more of a hindrance to the pride's hunting success than it is a benefit. If it happened to loop around these impala and chase it back towards them, well, that would be quite useful. Romit, I'm going to try and estimate how far away they are. It looks like it's close to about 40 meters or so, but it's difficult to really gauge from where we are because the impala are probably about equal distance the impala from us as they are to the lions. So to me, I'm going to guesstimate that it's about 40 odd meters. Lions need to get to within the range of at least 20 meters for their speed to be able to play any role in their actions. So for now, the impala are safe, but there is some ground to be covered, and there is some vegetation in the way. So that lioness, if she wanted to, she could stalk through the middle. But the impala are being quite vigilant, and any movement from those lions, including that little youngster there, could easily give away their attempts here. So that's number 9 then, that youngster on the left. So their Paradise Pride numbers in 11. 5 adults that I recall from last time. But who knows, the waiting game, the impala slowly seeming to kind of relax. 2 of them are starting to feed again, so we'll just keep our eyes on those lions and see if anything takes shape from their movement. Well, while we wait and play the patience game, both James and myself are wearing our patience pants. Down in Djuma it is very dry and the buffalo are thirsty.
Look at this very big head of buffaloes right on a convoy all the way from the Donga side to the Galago pen. This is quite a very long queue. Look at that. So we've got our own migration of buffaloes now. We are competing with the Masai Mara. So this is our migration. They are coming to the Galago pen. So you can see some of them are even going deep in the... Oh, there is a monitor there. Is it a monitor or is it terrapin? You can't see well. I think it's a terrapin. They are confusing the terrapin. See the terrapin there? Yeah. So these animals now by this time of the morning is when they are having their morning drink, and they come again here in the afternoon. Normally if it's a big dam, you will see them lying down in there, but now they are all just drinking, and a lot are still on their way to come here. Marveling, the buffaloes, both male and females, they've got horns. But the females, they've got thin horns. And males, they've got thick horns. So the males have got a boss in the middle. Here, the plates of the horns are joined together. And they've got thick, rough horns. So these buffaloes who are drinking now, they are nothing compared to the group which is still coming. There is still quite a lot on the way coming here. So these animals, they do also carry quite a lot of parasites. Oxpeckers are there. Those are the Richard, I don't think the terrapin shell will be strong enough for this kind of a strong keratin for the buffaloes. They are very big animals and they can weigh very much big. So a terrapin must just have to be very careful there. Remember, the terrapin is not like a tortoise, which can be able to withdraw the head into the shell. So terrapins can be vulnerable because they can easily also get trampled ahead. This is a marvelous sighting. So I can see these buffaloes are so healthy. So the buffaloes does not have a good eyesight, but they can smell very well. So you can see the Galago pen can be able to maintain this. Oh, one of them has got a very small tail there. Maybe that one survived an attack by the lion. Look at that one trying to now wave. And there's even ticks there. Look at the ticks are attached to that animal there. You can see the male now is there trying to sniff in order to get the ostrich status. So buffaloes, they are so very much social, and if one of them is in danger, the other ones, the rest of the group, mostly if they realize that, they come back to defend if one is caught by the lions. So they are not easy. So the noises we are hearing now is how they communicate. So those are the oxpeckers who are cleaning these buffaloes. They don't clean the mud, they only eat the ticks. So the buffaloes, they like to push each other all the time. So you can see they are just everywhere. So normally they sharpen their horns from the bushes. They thresh bushes, they thresh the termite mounds. Their tips of the horns can be very much sharp. So it means this afternoon they will still be in the area unless the lions are behind them. That is the only thing which can make them unsettled to move from here to somewhere else. So if you look at the hoofs on these animals, if you can just look at the hoofs, you will see that the hoofs of these animals are not designed for digging the ground. The steenbok is a very small animal, but the hoofs of the steenboks can be able to dig the ground for them to hide the droppings and also to get the tubers. So the buffalo's hoofs are not strong enough to dig the ground. Patricia, the buffaloes can be able to drink the water dry by the Galago pen. It's good that this is a man-made dam where we are pumping water. Sometimes they can drink a lot. Some of them are playing. This is quite a very big herd. Kevin, there is quite a lot of different water holes here. So far, these buffaloes were spotted. Maybe they've just moved from where they've been spotted yesterday. It's less than 5 kilometers. They can walk more than that, according to the water availability. Because same herd we are seeing here, sometimes I see them drinking by the chitwa. So which is just about maybe 4-5 kilometers away from here. So the sun at the moment, I can promise you, it is very hot. I'm trying to check which one is calling. That must be still a little one. So they are so comfortable with our presence here. So now, while we are still enjoying this very beautiful, stunning sighting of the buffalo, let's cross over to the Masai Mara and see what David is having at the moment.
Well, we left our lions and we have come to another exciting sighting of elephants on the move. And I think today we have lots of elephants in the Mara Triangle. And they're heading towards the Olololo escarpment. And there's a very unusual tree there. You see that tree in front there, what you call the euphorbia tree, where those elephants are heading. If you Bungei Kodia, that tree. It belongs to the cactus family with very small leaves, and it remains green all around the year. Not many of them in the Mara, and they have like white latex liquid that will come out of their stems or branches should you just puncture one, which is quite poisonous. And you'll always notice not many animals will get close to them because they know, and rarely you even see animals under them taking shelter. But there's some birds like the starlings that will always be around them. Apart from the elephants, I think Bungei have seen some giraffes somewhere. Very good. And you can see browsing on some leaves there from that little bush. Could be Kepa's bush. And they have to put their legs apart for them to reach the ground. Whoops, it's a big chunk of food, giraffe, eh? It's a lot for you to put in your mouth. I want to stick here for a few more seconds, watching how long it will take you to finish that. But in the meantime, let's go back to Steve.
Well, thank you very much. We left that pride of lions because, well, they got spotted by the impala who bolted off, and then moments later they all lay flat on the ground. And we turned around in search still of these male lions, and well, look at them. There's one of them in the shade, probably exhausted after walking 3 kilometers with a belly full of buffalo. But it is not the best view. I don't think we're going to get any better than that. But I wonder if anyone has been taking note of how many lions we've seen this morning. We had 9 now before with that pride. And there's 1 male lion here. There's 2 somewhere. I can't see the second one. He's probably just hiding in the long grass. David's had the Sausage Tree Pride. Sydney's had his lion down south. And in the Olololo Pride earlier, we had at least 11 of the 17 individuals. So what a morning of lions it has been. But we're going to move off from this very flat cat because, well, it's not very exciting, is he? He was even more exciting yesterday, and that was not exciting at all. But that is what happens this time of day with lions. They are generally quite flat, and so we generally spend a lot more time with animals that are drinking and having fun at the watering hole, just like Sydney with his buffalo.
These animals are now playing with the water. I can see that they just step on a water supply, and the water is just spreading instead of flowing to the dam. It's just spreading, and they are enjoying having a shower at the moment. Buffaloes are showering here. They are enjoying this shower. One of them is even showering the face at the moment. It's just that they are obstructing. This is quite a very big pool party. Dana, unfortunately, these kind of animals, they do share water, but they push each other here, they chase each other, but at the end, all of them are going to have something to drink. So they are not protective when they get to the water holes. So you can see the little ones already, they had a drink. Some of them are still drinking. There's quite a lot of little ones here. There's quite a very big breeding head. A breeding head like this can be very dangerous. One of them is even washing the... Look at that one. That one is washing the face. Look at that. You can see they're enjoying this shower. So they don't want to leave the water hole at the moment because it's much cooler after drinking. So this is the area I was hoping to find Hosanna, but because of the presence of this big animal, I know it won't be easy for me to find him around here. So the big males at this stage, you can see they are just looking after the head. They are looking much more going that side. The pathfinders are already orientating now for the head to move towards that direction. It has been a lovely morning, punctuated with quite a lot of sighting, good sightings from the Masai Mara in Kenya, as well as other sighting here by the western side of the Greater Kruger National Park. And thank you very, very much for all your questions and comments. Let's meet again this afternoon.